here for Zolotech, and I wanted to show you how to back up from your old phone and restore to your new one. In this case, we have the iPhone 6s Plus and we have the iPhone 7 Plus here. So we're going to take everything off of this one and move it over to this one. Now this video is going to have three simple parts. The first part's going to be backing up, the second part's going to be restoring, and the third part is going to be some questions that you may have that I'll answer at the end of the video. So the first thing we need to do is go into settings, so let's do that. We'll move the iPhone 7 Plus aside. Now the first thing we're going to do is go into settings, and we're going to back up using iCloud. If you haven't done that already, I'll show you how to do that here. Now if you're using iTunes, that's simple. You just plug it in and hit backup. So let's scroll down until we get to iCloud. You'll go on to iCloud, and this will give you your information as to who's sharing it and how much storage you have available. But what we want is at the bottom. So scroll down, and you'll see it says backup. So let's first go to backup. Make sure it's turned on. If it's not turned on, turn it on, and then hit backup now. You'll see it says I was last backed up at 12:30 a.m. yesterday. And if you don't back up now, you won't get everything in the new restore. So we need to do that. We'll hit backup now, and this can take a little bit of time, especially if it's your first backup. It could take quite a while, and it won't do it until you're on Wi-Fi, so make sure you're on Wi-Fi while you're doing this. The backup completed and took me about 10 minutes. It could vary. Sometimes, like I said, if it's your first backup, could take actually a couple hours. So make sure that's backed up. Now we can go to the new phone and start that one up and move to it. Now, one thing I wanted to tell you is when you restore to a new phone, it doesn't wipe anything here. They're just mirrored. So if you text someone here, it will actually be mirrored on the new one as well. So this is the first time I've ever started up the iPhone 7 Plus. So let's go ahead and turn that on, and we'll move this one out of the way. Now that we've booted the phone up, what we need to do is set it up. So we'll click the home button, select our language. In this case, I'll select the United States. And then we'll wait for my Wi-Fi network to appear. I'll select that, put in my password. Once your password's been entered, it will jump to this screen, and then it will take a moment to activate the iPhone. Once it's been activated, we can set up location services. I'll enable this. You can disable it if you'd like. And then we'll set up Touch ID. So I'll place my finger on here. Now your Touch ID information isn't retained from the previous phone because it's actually stored in a separate chip on the phone to keep it safe. So that actually makes a difference here. So it's a good security measure that they put in place. Now we have to create a passcode, so I'll do that. Once the passcode's entered, this is the part we really care about. We're going to restore from an iCloud backup. Now if you used iTunes, you can restore from an iTunes backup or an Android phone if you have one of those, or set it up as a new phone. I'll restore from an iCloud backup. Now we're going to put in our Apple ID and password, the same one that we had on the backup for the iCloud settings before. Once you've put in your iCloud password, it'll bring you to terms and conditions, so you'll have to agree to that in order to continue, and then we'll wait a few moments or a few minutes for it to set that up. Now here's the part we actually saved before when we backed up the phone. Now you'll see I have a bunch of different ones. That's because I have a bunch of different Apple devices that are saved and backed up. And so what you want to do is if you have an iPad or something else, just restore from the one that you just used. So in this case, it's a 6S Plus, and it's from 7/24 today. We'll hit this one and wait for it to restore. Now this is going to take some time. It actually restores. This takes a while, and then it's kind of a two-part process. So it's going to restore, then it will reboot and let you into the phone and use it while it restores all of your apps in the background. This is a 128 gigabyte iPhone 7. The previous one is a 64 gigabyte. So at most I'd have 64 gigabytes backed up. That can take some time to restore. But basically what it does is calculates the time, and you'll see it says about 25 minutes. What it will do is restore this part, reboot, and then install all of your apps. So we'll wait for this to complete, and we'll take a look at it in a little bit. The restore is finally completed, so we'll go ahead and hit continue. Now we're going to go through the setup, so we'll go to enable location services. You don't have to enable that, but if you want to use it with maps and things, it's just easier to turn it on now instead of later. It's going to update iCloud settings, and this will take a moment, and then we'll continue setting this up. So now we can set up Apple Pay. I decided to set up Apple Pay later, but now I'm going to use iCloud Keychain. Now, if you don't have this, you don't have to worry about this, but if you do, it's easiest to do it from another device, and this basically saves passwords across different devices. Now we're going to set up Siri. Hey Siri. Hey Siri. Hey Siri, how's it today? We'll hit continue. Now you don't have to do any of this right now. And this is something new. It says meet the new home button. So it says get started. So we can change the pressure of this click or the way it feels. 1 is a little bit less. 2 is more. 3 feels best, I think. We'll hit get started. It's restoring everything, and this is going to take some time, but what's really nice is it keeps everything the same. So here's my iPhone 6s Plus. You'll see that the apps are all the same and laid out, although they're not fully installed yet. That's going to take some time. You'll see they're all laid out exactly how I left it. So the nice thing is it's going to restore all these apps. It's also going to restore all of their data from within those apps. So for example, if you're in Hangouts and you sign back in, and that's one thing you'll have to do is actually sign back into all of your apps as a security precaution. But for the most part, everything is there. There are a few exceptions. So if you go into an app, all the app data for games and whatever you're using should be there. But the one exception might be if it doesn't use iCloud for that backup. So for example, I use a money finance app called MoneyWiz, and they have their own sync service, so I'll have to sign back into that sometimes. Depends on which app it is and how it works, but most of the data, 99% of the time, is there. Now, as for your texts, it backs up all of those texts and restores them just like they were before, with the exception of anything you've texted since. So this may take an hour or two. If you're using your other phone and you text, it won't show up here. But for the most part, everything will be there. So let me give you an example. Here you'll see this is texting my wife, and it was read at 6:13. Now this isn't everything because I've texted her since we did the backup earlier, but most of this text and all of the images within there will be there. So that's a really nice feature of this and something I use all the time when I'm restoring different phones. Now if you delete something here, it will not delete on the other phone. If I text something on this phone, it will show up here now that they're both connected in that sense to iCloud. These phones don't interface with one another basically. If you delete something here, it won't delete it here and vice versa. It's just two mirrored images at this point. As for your music, that's where it gets a little bit more tricky. Your music is backed up sort of if you use Apple Music, iTunes, and you've purchased your music through iTunes, it will all be there available to download. So if I go in, here's all my different music. Now, if I bought it through iTunes, I can just go in there and stream it, or I can hit the download button. If I didn't buy it through iTunes and maybe I bought it through Amazon or some other place, I downloaded a CD into my computer or dumped it in there and then moved it over. If I did that, I'll have to plug my phone back into my computer, load iTunes, and restore it that way. Otherwise, you won't have that music on your device initially. I actually use iTunes Match, and that allows me to sync that music. So basically, it will show up even if I didn't buy it through iTunes. It's a whole nother thing, and I would definitely look into it if you're not using iTunes Music. Otherwise, that's it. Give it a few hours, it will restore. Your battery will probably not be great while it's doing this, so just leave it charging. I plugged it in here. Leave it charging, let it restore, and you'll be all set. If you have any other questions or comments, let me know in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.